The Red Bull Racing team have just been fined £7 million for cheating and breaking the cost cap rules. They've confirmed in an agreement with the FIA today that they have come to an accepted breach agreement, an ABA. They will effectively get a £7 million fine, and they will have a reduction in their wind tunnel running time. Now, as Red Bull are the champions, they would have got 28 runs in the wind tunnel. They will now only get 25 runs, so they've lost out 3 runs in the wind tunnel. Because agreed to this under an ABA, they're going to get a lesser penalty. So the financial penalty is a £7 million. It will not come off the cost cap budget for next year. It's just a separate £7 million fine that will go to the FIA. They have 30 days to make payment of that fine. And then the sporting punishment is this 3 less runs, so their runs from 28 runs in the wind tunnel to 25 runs will be their punishment effectively for exceeding the cost cap budget. Now, FIA confirmed in their statement that they exceeded the budget by 1.8 million. A lot of that, 1.4 of that million, is due to some taxing issues, and a £432,000 is effectively their breach. It amounts to about 0.37% of a breach over the limit when you put it into context. Overall, though, they said that Red Bull didn't fully submit their records accurately. They were out by about 5.6 million from their actual submission, so that's quite a significant error, and I think a lot of the fine probably comes down due to that error in accounting that they filed. Now, is this a big enough fine? I imagine it'll have quite a significant impact. Red Bull being champions, they've only got 28 runs. It's a sliding scale for runs in the wind tunnel. If you win the championship, you would get 28, second place 30, third place 32, and so forth down on a sliding scale. I think it's up to 40 runs as a maximum in the wind tunnel for the bottom place teams. And therefore, they've done that basically so the lesser teams get the chance to catch up to the bigger teams. And now with this cost cap rule in place, bigger teams can't have a massive over budget compared to the smaller teams. I think that will have a bigger impact, and we should see the smaller teams getting a lot closer to the big teams. Now, with the Red Bull getting 3 less runs, I think that'll be significant, especially with the way ground effects are now quite crucial, as we're seeing it affects the straight line speed, the cornering, and it's a new into Formula 1, so already having a lesser time on the wind tunnel will impact Red Bull into next year, maybe the year after, but is this significant enough? I think obviously Red Bull, in my view, got off quite lightly with this, in terms of, I'm not sure how big of an impact having just 3 less runs in the wind tunnel will have on them as a team. Will it claw back the advantage that they've gained? I mean, if we look at it, potentially the FIA are saying that the 1.8 million that Red Bull were over, 1.4 of that is due taxing, and only 400,000 of it, so just 0.37% they're over, is not significant in my view anyway, and therefore probably why they've just got this 3 less runs. And so it's probably not as severe as an overspend as we probably first thought. It's fine. I'm glad that the FIA managed to come to some clarity. It brings the matter now to an end, which is probably a good thing for Formula 1. We can now move on to the racing for this weekend. And it'll be interesting to see how this really does impact Red Bull going forward. Will we see this damage, of this punishment? And if we don't, then I expect the big teams to then probably take the risk and have a big fine, but then get the extra wind tunnel time in, and exceed the budget by smaller amounts if we're going to get just small punishments for it, and we don't see a negative from that in terms of a sporting context. And so that's the punishment for Red Bull. They will also have to pay the cost cap administration fees for this. I don't imagine that being massive sum, but the big news, a £7 million fine and a reduction in the wind tunnel time. Let's see what the big teams think of this. It'll be interesting to see the comments of Zach Brown, who's really most critical of Red Bull, and Toto Wolff, direct rivals of Red Bull, and the rest of the group. In fact, we've had Gunter Steiner and other team principals chip in on this. McLaren have been the most vocal. I'm really quite looking forward to what their thoughts are on this, and will they just be thinking, we'll take the hit and we'll breach Scott's cap next time? It's a crucial test for the FIA. Have they done enough? Not so sure with it just being just a wind tunnel reduction in terms of exporting impact or punishment that they've had. There's no point deductions or anything further in that. But the big news that they've accepted that Red Bull accepted that they were in breach. They've effectively confirmed they cheated. Not the news Red Bull fans would want to hear, but that's the facts. Let's see how this plays out in the future. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.